UFC Shanghai, Johnny Walker versus Zhang Mingyang, a light heavyweight bout, a decent card. I'm here to break down the full card. You know how it works, and I cannot lie to you. I'm not exactly over the moon with this card, but there are some fights I am really looking forward to. Specifically, the co-main event and someone on the prelims if you watch the channel. But let's go a little further. Main event: Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker is going to get fucking flatline KO'd in the very first round. That's how Johnny Walker's career goes. Jamal Hill learned that. Anyone good learned that, okay? And if you look at Mingyang, Anthony Smith in the first round, Ozzy Diaz in the first round, Brenson Ribeiro in the first round. He's 0-3 in the UFC, so he hasn't exactly been like a UFC veteran. Johnny Walker is absolutely his biggest, toughest test. But listen, man, if you know Johnny Walker, if in doubt, better than Johnny Walker getting knocked the fuck out. I always say that, bro. Okay, he trained in SPG. He's got some decent wins. Like he went on a nice run there of Ian Kutilov, Paul Craig, Anthony Smith. Then he got Chin Bank live. Then he lost to Ozdemir. Jamal Hill absolutely sent him to the shadow realm, bro. Shadow realm. Corey Anderson knocked him out as well. And the funny thing about Johnny Walker is this dude was touted up to be the next John Jones. This dude was touted up to be absolutely everything. He was touted up to be the next big thing within the sport. And he just was shit. He was fucking wanked. Now, I wasn't like massively into MMA as much as I am now. I wouldn't have been able to run a channel or anything like that like I do now. Not saying I'm fucking top dog or anything, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to be one of the biggest MMA influencers, but we'll get there one day. Um, I was never one of those guys who was like, oh yeah, Johnny Walker is a serious problem. Because I never really thought he was like overly great. Do you know what I mean? I never thought he was overly great. Zhang Mingyang, I've seen, obviously, his 3 fights in the UFC. He's good at heavy hands. He's good at keeping range. Johnny Walker, though, might be able to find success within the kicks at range. He might be able to find like success along the way. But I just don't trust in Johnny Walker's chin. I haven't seen it the last while. He's over 2 years now since he got a win against Anthony Smith. I don't know if he's remembered that fight. He was like, you're robbing my family or some shit like that. Smith was having just a massive crash out in the middle of the cage, which was kind of sad, if I'm being honest with you. I didn't really like seeing that. I don't. Listen, I shit on Anthony Smith, but I don't mind Anthony Smith. Like, he seems like a harmless enough fucking idiot. Like, do you know what I mean? But listen, I'm not betting on Johnny Walker. I'm just simply not betting on Johnny Walker. I feel like Johnny Walker's going to get flatline KO'd in the very first round. He might be able to have success with range. He might be able to utilize his kicks to keep, Zhang Mingyang away because Johnny Walker absolutely has the experience advantage. He has the range advantage. He's been in there with the best. He's been in there with Jamal Hill. He's picked up some nice wins. Ian Kutilov, Paul Craig, Anthony Smith. That's a nice 3 fight win streak there. You know what I mean? It's a nice 3 kill streak. Okay, you got a UAV on the map. Okay, but Zhang Mingyang has also got a UAV on the map. They have the common denominator in Anthony Smith. Zhang Mingyang finished them, so you have to go with him in that one. But I'm not going to be ruling Johnny Walker out and having moments in the fight. Maybe it's not going to be a first round, but I think so. I'm going to go with first round. I wouldn't be betting on this fight because A, Zhang Mingyang's a massive favorite, and B, I just think you're giving money to charity if you're betting on Johnny Walker. Yeah, because you can just give him money away at that point. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Zhang Mingyang. I think he's gonna get this one done via fucking first round TKO. Now, finally, I wanted to talk about this fight. I'm looking forward to talking about the next fight. Ryan T City Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. Very, very big controversy happening today with this fight. Brian Ortega looked like a skeleton walking to the scales. He could hardly walk. His days of featherweight are completely done. Aljamain Sterling made weight. He's professional. I'm picking Aljamain Sterling, and I was always picking Aljamain Sterling. I was picking Sterling from the start. I thought Sterling was going to be too good with the grappling. I thought he was going to be able to maneuver Ortega on the ground, and I thought he was too funky on the feet to get caught by any Ortega strikes. Ortega has good boxing. Ortega is able to scrap. Ortega is able to make it a dogfight. But Aljamain Sterling is a defending former world champion. And he was this close to fucking beating Mobzar everywhere, who some people are considering the best grappler in the division. Aldo has the scrambles in that fight were like Mateus Gamrat, Arman Sarukian level scrambles. Like the scrambles were absolutely insane. I feel like all of us as MMA fans just kind of look at Sarukian versus Gamrot as like the holy grail of like grappling, like the fucking best grappling match that you could see. The level of scrambles that were there, like real G's know that was an unbelievable fight. Aljo versus Mobzar was up there. Aljo just, I really felt he, I wouldn't say should have won, but really could have won that fight. I really feel like there was a few positions where I'm like, fuck, if you just maneuvered a little bit and you ended up on top, you probably would have got the nod. He was that close, that fucking close to beating Movzar everywhere. He was fucking that close. And Brian Ortega was one of my favorite fighters in the UFC for fucking years. From when he got the undeserved title shot of being Korean Zombie to when he finished Yair Rodriguez to hurting his elbow. Oh, Ortega versus Yair was meant to be the fight, man. That was back in the day. Like, what was that? That's probably 3 years ago now. That injury. Back in the day, that was the fight, man. That was the absolute fight. But Ortega's definitely past his prime. You know, you lose to Diego Lopez. You get a good win against Yair Rodriguez, though. You must say he's only kind of lost to Lopez, Holloway, and Volk, if I'm not mistaken. And he's got that kind of like loss on his record from Yair, but he's only lost to Holloway, Volk, and Lopez. Off the top of my head, I don't remember anyone else beating Brian Ortega. I'm gonna check that actually. It's pissing me off, but ultimately, I feel like there's going to be a lot of grappling in this fight. I don't really see a negative with that because these are both extremely high level grapplers. You know, back in the day, Brian Ortega, T City was the original like Charles Oliveira. He was the original Charles Oliveira, for being honest here. He just had so many good positions. You know, the fucking he adjusted grip mid fucking Hub Swanson choke. He got him in like in like a weird ass guillotine and just mounted in such a weird fucking angle. So Brian Ortega is 8-4 in the UFC. Diego Lopez, Yair Rodriguez, Volkanovski, and Max Holloway. He didn't lose to Yair, he got an injury, so that doesn't count. But yeah, like he adjusted like mid grip. Like he kind of like when he was like hanging off Cub Swanson, he like jolted himself up a little bit to give him a little bit of room to adjust mid grip. And like no one's ever seen that, like ever. Okay, and Joe Rogan says, let's not forget what he did to Cub Swanson, man. That was one of the OG ones. But Ortega's definitely been one of the pillars of featherweight for years. And I'll never forget the hype about Holloway versus Ortega. Ortega was undefeated. This was the guy, man. This was the guy that couldn't fail, and Holloway just put a beat down. One of my favorite fights of all time is Ortega versus Holloway. I just love that fight. I could honestly like you all know LaRowan, the fucking MMA channel that posts the best moments. I watched the Ortega versus Holloway one religiously, bro. It's actually insane, but as an actual prediction, I feel like Aljamain Sterling. I feel like it's quite hard to bet on Brian. Now Brian Ortega's the dog. He can win this fight. I would chuck a little bit on Ortega just for value, to be honest with you, because of the name. But I feel like Aljamain Sterling's scramble is going to be too much. I think his control is going to be too much for Ortega. I think he's going to have enough funky striking to be able to set up takedowns, get Ortega down. He's going to be too slick not to get caught in a submission, I think. Because Sterling can wrap up Ortega too. Let's not forget. I can't wait for this fight. Holy fuck. Um, but yeah, like Ortega's definitely a better boxer in my opinion. Ortega can bang. Ortega can fucking bang, and yeah, I'm just kind of happy Ortega's back. Like I really like Brian Ortega, but fuck me, he looked like a fucking skeleton at that fucking weigh-ins. Like it was bad, bro. It was bad, but yeah. We'll go with Aljamain Sterling in the 30-27, 29-28. We'll go 29-28 on that one. Next up, Sergey Pavlovich. I think it's Spivak. Sergey Pavlovich versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. Uh, what a scrap. What can I say? They're kind of pushing Costa towards the big leagues. I'm going to be going with Sergey Pavlovich on this one. I kind of thought about this earlier. I was talking to my friend about this. Just because you lost to Tom Aspinall and just because you lost to Alexander Volkov, the two best fucking heavyweights in the world. And yes, Alexander Volkov is the second best heavyweight. Okay, don't give me this Cyril Gane fucking bullshit. Okay, he beat Cyril Gane quite convincingly as well. You know what? Waldo Cortez Acosta, he's 14-1. I'm having a little look see at his record here. I just don't see the name value. You know what I mean? He was in the LFA, he was in Bellator, he came through the Contender Series. Sergey Spivak, Ryan Spann, and that's it. Andrei Arlovsky's, it's a basic win at this point of his career. Apart from that, I think the difference between Sergey Spivak and Sergey Pavlovich is massive, and I think it's going to be a massive jump in the striking form. He's got a few finishes on his record here. You know, he's lost in the UFC. He's a bit of a decision merchant. I just feel like you're dealing with a different level of fish. Now he might be able to stall out fucking Pavlovich. I would not be surprised one bit if we see that, just him completely stalling out Pavlovich. But I feel like Pavlovich is kind of like in and thereabouts. Like he could beat Cyril Gane, to be honest with you. I'd probably pick Gane, but I wouldn't be picking him convincingly. You know, I'd like to see him versus like a Blades or like some shit like that. Maybe even an Almeida would be kind of cool, but I'll pick Pavlovich on this one. I feel like he'll just be able to get the shots going. I feel like he'd be able to get it going on the feet. This will be like a oh you forgot performance from Pavlovich. Like I said, just because you lose to Tom Aspinall and just because you lose to Shogun does not mean you are a bad fighter at all. At fucking all, bro. Okay. And Waldo Cortez Acosta is not even fighting the best in the best in the division. Now let's not forget, a lot of people were picking Pavlovich as a scary man in the division before Aspinall chilling them. Okay. Now he is coming off win against Jorginho Rosenstrike. I'm a bit of a retard actually. Just he did beat Curtis Blades. So completely ignore me saying that. But he's had scheduled bouts against Gane and Aspinall, which is it's quite mad. You know, he lost to Overeem, but that was fucking years ago. You know, he's coming off that win against Rosenstrike, which I kind of feel like that was just kind of like a basic win to get him back in the mix. Just kind of get the juices flowing, get him back in the flow. Rosenstrike's a good stand-up fighter. I don't even think Rosenstrike's even in the UFC anymore now that I think about it, but no one really cares. And he chinned, you know, Tai Tuivasa in the first round, which, you know, no one really likes to see Tai Tuivasa lose, but most of the time it's really going to happen, isn't it? But yeah, I'll go with Sergey Pavlovich via second round TKO on that one. But Waldo Cortez Ted could just kind of stall his way to the next one, which is kind of shit. So next up, we have Kevin Baraz versus Suma Jerry. Uh, I'm going to go with Kevin Baraz on this one. I'm going to go with a bit of an underdog. I've seen a few of his fights. See, a lot of these boys I feel like are on these kind of cards just to win. Am I doing one kind of thinks that it's like having like an Nathaniel Wood on the fucking UFC London card against someone that's not even ranked or someone that's kind of like shit. You know what I mean? But then again, he fought Andre Fili as a co-main, so that was a pretty good fight. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Ken Braz on this one. I think he's a little bit too much slick, and probably just because I've seen a little bit more of him. To be honest with you, nothing exciting there, not much there to talk about. Kiefer Crosby. Now this is one I do want to talk about. He's going to be taking on Toilak Nuraji. Apologies if I mispronounce your name there, mate, but I'm going to go with Kiefer Crosby on this one. Jokes. Kiefer Crosby is going to get finished in the first round. Fair play to fucking Kiefer Crosby for getting on a UFC main card. Fair fucking play. You know, he hasn't exactly had the best run of it in the UFC. I think he's 0-2, but he's definitely 0-1. You know, he took one on kind of short notice, which is fair enough, but I just never. I've been watching Keith Crosby for years. You know, I've seen him fight live. I'm pretty sure he was on like a Misfits card or some shit like that, or a Kingpin. He was on some of that shit. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think he was on that. And now he's finding his way in a main card of the UFC, which is fair fucking play to him. Like, you know what I mean? Fair fucking play to him. I like Kiefer Crosby. I've met him once. Really nice guy, super chill. He's from Ireland as well, so I fucking hope he wins because we need more Irish fighters in UFC. But I just don't see it personally with Kiefer Crosby's skill set. He's got good jiu-jitsu. I just think he's lacking a bit in the hands. Sorry, the other way around. I'm a bit retarded. He's got good hands, but he's lacking a little bit in jiu-jitsu. And I just think to get to the level of the UFC, you need to be kind of like. I just feel like maybe Ireland's a little bit behind in the wrestling. I definitely feel like the younger generation are catching up because I'm quite near some gyms and I just see them mashing out wrestling, so that's good. But yeah, Kiefer Crosby, I just don't see it. He's got good hands though, so he might be able to get something going with the feet. He might be able to find the shot, but yeah, I'd be betting against Kiefer Crosby on that one. Unfortunately, I hope he wins though. Hope he gets it done. But I'm gonna go with Tat Kala versus first round TKO, and he's a minus 400 favorite. Gaji Young versus Mahich. Yeah, whatever, bro. Yo, Gaji Young's gonna win. I want to talk about the next fight. I'll be real. I'll be real. So we have Lonan Kavanagh versus Charles Johnson. All I'm going to say, the first thing I just noticed here, so we have the England flag beside Kavanagh's name. Last time it was I want to say it was an Irish flag. I guarantee you at some point, Lionel Kavanagh had an Irish flag beside his fucking name. Now, I'm not saying he's Irish. Please don't get me. Please don't say that. But I just remember seeing an Irish flag. That's all I'm going to say there. But I'm going to go with Cavan on this one. Listen, man, I have been watching him since the Cage Warriors Academy. I actually messaged him. I was like, how much do I bet on you getting to the UFC? So I should have bet my fucking mortgage at that point. But I just knew this kid was a bit special, if I'm being honest. I just always fucking loved his striking. I loved how heavy handed he was. I loved his shot placement, even when he was an amateur. And I just thought this dude was the real fucking deal. Now, I always have a little bit of doubt when people go from Cage Warriors to the UFC because, you're going from Championship to Premier League. Okay. Now, there's very, very few um, Championship strikers that can bang it in against Liverpool. Like, there just is, bro. Okay. I'm sorry. There's a few exceptions, but most of them can't do it. I think Lachlan Kavanagh can go a long way. Lonward Kavanagh. I feel he can go a long way. Um, I hope he does because it's one of those times, yeah. Like I feel like a big reason I love this sport is seeing shit like this, like seeing the guy I've watched for years and now he's on the big stage. I've been watching him since he's an amateur, bro. Like it's actually insane to see him there now. It's actually mind blowing, but I've been watching him since he was an amateur, and I just thought his striking and his movement, the way he kind of moves in with his shots, he almost like I don't even. His movement's very hard to describe. He kind of slides in and out, but he slides perfectly with his shots. Charles Johnson's a vet. Charles Johnson's a veteran, but listen, I'm going to go with Kavanagh be a first round TKO on this one. Laundry Kavanagh. He's part of Brad Pickett's gym, GB top team, so that's pretty cool. Nathaniel Wood changed there. I want to say something like I think Dominic Wooding might train there. I don't know if any of you know him. He used to be on the scene. Not much anymore. Went to the PFL, kind of didn't do great there, but there was a stage where he was like the next kind of thing for the UFC. Um, but yeah, Lachlan Cabin, I'm going to go with you on that one, my bro. First round TKO, you have my support. Kiefer Crosby, you have my support. I want to see you boys get this one done. Austin Hubbard, the whole kind of card kind of falls off a little bit. We still got decent fights, but it's not anything special. Austin Hubbard's gonna get finishing this fight. I feel like Rosman's in there to win, so I'll go with him via second round TKO. Not much. Austin Hubbard, like I feel like Austin. Whatever happened, you know who he looks like? Jonathan Pierce. What happened to Jonathan Pierce? That's the one the name I'd log up, but bro, I was watching Jonathan Pierce since he was like first fight in the Ortega versus Volkanovski very early prelims, bro. What the fuck? But bit off traffic. Yeah, I'm gonna go with fucking Austin Hubbard on this one to get fucking flatline KOs. Next up, Michel Pereira versus Kyle Dawkins. Dawkins kind of has like a bad name because his brother gets fucking. I don't know what it was about Chris Dawkins. Like, he just got so many big opportunities and just fucking got flatlined every single time. The fellow couldn't fucking take an opportunity to save his life. To save his life. Michel Pereira is going to win. I feel like Michel Pereira is so fucking entertaining to watch on the feet. He's such a showman, and I really like Michel Pereira. Kyle Dawkins, listen, my bro, I'm sorry. I wish you nothing but the best, but you are going to get slept in this fight. I hope you're better than your brother. You are a little bit better than your brother, but damn. There's a fucking Chris Dawkins era was something crazy. Like, he had a main event with Curtis Blades. That is crazy. I don't know what it was. I don't know why they pushed him so much. I don't know why they wanted Chris Dawkins at the top. That big fucking big belly, that big jiggly belly, yeah, just didn't do for me, mate. So yeah, I'm gonna go Michel Pereira second round TKO. Next up, we have Yizzy versus Wetson Wilson. Um, see, these kind of fights, I'll be real. I feel like a lot of these boys are road to the UFC, so I don't know much about them. So just to give like an off the grid fucking prediction, Yiza, I'll go with him, and Isha Long, I'll go with him. Sung Young Yu, Urban Salt Sati Belev. Both these names are fucking crazy. Versus Dear Ruzgawi. I've seen one or two of his fights, so I'm going to pick him on that one. I'll go with Dear Gazi on that one. All in all, though, I must say I'm actually happy enough with this card. We got a decent enough prelims. We got Lachlan Kavanagh on the prelims. That's all we know, or Lodi Kavanagh. I'm really, I was so fucking excited for Aljamain Sterling versus Brian Ortega. But since the kind of cancellation, it's just kind of my hype is sorry, not cancellation. It was actually cancelled at one stage, which is kind of upsetting. But the whole weight thing is kind of putting me off a little bit. I just really don't know what Ortega's doing at featherweight still. Just move up to lightweight. Now, he did say he was offered a UFC legend, so maybe, there was an act. No, fuck that, actually. He said he wanted to fight at featherweight, but it would have been a year and a half. Why the fuck Ortega would have to wait a year and a half to fight at featherweight is criminal. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, in any realm, what's wrong with him versus Arnold Allen? So he wanted to go up to lightweight. I don't know who it was. He said it was a UFC legend, so maybe like a Charles Oliveira or some shit like that. But I think Ortega could do well at lightweight, bro. I feel like him versus like Mateus Gamrot would be a good fight. Now, you do run into nightmare wrestlers in that division, so yeah. But yeah, I feel like it's a good card though. I'm happy with it, and it's on a good time for me, so I can't really complain. So yeah, that's my full card breakdown. Listen, I love breaking down cards, man. I can talk about this shit all day. But like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.